a beautiful Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. I just remembered I was supposed to be drinking this on TV. Anyway, how you guys doing?
Oh, really? There's a fast happening somewhere. Okay, sorry. We're amazing.
Nima, what's up? How are you? Saw you yesterday.
So you wanted to say something?
No.
It's not for TV.
It's not for TV.
I was wrong with this girl.
So me, I bring greetings from LASMA. Yes, so I've been fraternizing with the GM of LASMA.
For obvious reasons.
On our
obvious reasons.
All these transport people.
Yes. Okay. But one of the LASMA officials, the one at Alakija yesterday, an Igbo man amazingly said to me to say hi to the ladies and emphasize the issue of the road. Okay. So we have craters under the bridge, and those of us turning to Old Ojo, trying to get to Satellite Town and the other side, always have to suffer traffic. So he said, Madam, you're not talking enough about it. Government used to listen to your show. Is your view? I said, Madam, don't worry.
Tokwe just mentioned one. You see that going to Ikorodu, the bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that goes to Third Mainland Bridge, underneath it, there used to be craters. Tokwe mentioned that the governor passed one day and it was filled up. Okay, this is just a month after. They're back as potholes. Just 1 month.
Because they were patching. But you know, ours is under construction, so I'm hoping that, you know, the workers will come back. All the construction companies are off the road. The ones doing the Badagry Expressway are off the road. The one doing my own road at Irede also are off the road.
Note, all the roads leading to Shrine.
I don't know, maybe their monies. You want to use that road to
leading to Shrine.
From the airport to Shrine. It's fine.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I had a lovely weekend.
I like the hairstyle.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the dress.
First lady.
Honestly, see, the wardrobe people are doing a fantastic job. See the pretty pink dress that they put me in.
Please, Andrew knows your name.
I'm good. So over the weekend, I went back. I haven't been to Taekwondo for a while, and I went back. And it was so good to be back, you know, heart pumping and everything. Yes.
What are you trying to do?
Taekwondo now.
Excuse me. You are as thin as any human
It's
being.
not about being thin.
It's for defense.
It's not about. It's for self-defense.
Like
you now, you know there are some things you say sometimes. We need to come to your defense. So you need me to do it.
Oh my goodness.
With the kids, because I know your kids
Oh
are
yes, they do. Of course, they have been going.
What belts they do the belts?
Yes,
what belts
yellow belts for both of us. Yes, but at the end of this year, we must move up
to black.
No, it will take a while to get to black.
That yellow, I think many people get to yellow for a long time. They never go past yellow.
No, well,
white and yellow. I mean, that's always
white
through my life. I think it was just yellow. I never passed that yellow part.
Lazy Nigerian youth. You're supposed to keep going. And
I was white belt many years ago.
White belt means you wrote your name on a
How are you doing, Jumoke?
Talking about. We tie our jaya, we don't do
I haven't seen you in this color in a while. The green.
I love green and white actually. It's very earthy, represents Nigeria well, you know.
Sorry, this is the green that made us win. This is not the green one.
No, this is
the green that made us win.
This is green that we won.
That demonic green that has. They lost with that green. They now play the third match with that same green.
I disagree.
Aren't you guys spiritual? Can't you realize that that green did not help us?
No. This is a different green.
I don't know about that.
Actually, I experienced a family drama over the weekend, and I learned that just to be able to have children doesn't make you a parent, like we always say on this show. And I'm going to agree with our Minister of Health that we need to start, you know, watching how many children we have. Children are not retirement benefit for parents. Please ensure that you invest for your future. There's no social security in Nigeria. Be well secure for your future. Your children will take care of themselves. God help you that you don't have a foolish child that thinks that he or she needs to sell your property for them to make wealth in future.
Right. Fortunately, we have to move on. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll go through the front pages of the newspaper. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Start with the punch. On paid allowances, Osinbajo meets Inspector General as policemen protest in Borno. Mikel Obi's father rescued from kidnappers again. Court grants Dasuki 200 million naira bail, declares ex-NSA detention illegal.
Imagine.
We've been saying that from day one. Tanker fire death toll hits 12 as Lagos State government to prosecute driver. Saraki's chief of staff dumps APC. Killings, Miyetti Allah rejects calls for service chief sacking. Says foreign herdsmen can graze in Nigeria. Right. So which stories are we taking? I have the Miyetti Allah story and I have the Mikel Obi. Which one do you want to take?
Okay, I have Mikel Obi as well.
Okay, let me quickly shorten the story. Anyway, Mikel Obi has been kidnapped. He was kidnapped for a second time. This happened June 29th, but he's been rescued by policemen. And while making these short, let's just ensure that our parents are well secure. Mariah was saying that maybe Mikel needs to take his father abroad. Russia. But I don't think that is the right thing. Let us talk to kidnappers. Yes, we know that Nigeria is hard. It's hard for everyone. Stop discouraging people who are working hard for their own wealth. He was traveling from Jos back home in a Toyota SUV. And just because you see old man in SUV and you know his son, you think you want to keep on kidnapping the old man.
They were asking for 10 million naira.
Imagine.
It's almost impossible to have someone like him relocate. I'm sure if they offer him,
if
he will
me,
say
I
no.
was Mikel Obi.
He's an elder statesperson, elder man. And most times they want to stay with their family at that age.
When you go to have retirement
my
plans,
father is still on my case trying to relocate to the
you'll be playing
village.
bingo with your fellow elders, you'll be taking walks, you'll be going out, you'll not be doing kidnapping in Nigeria. Please carry your father to wherever you are.
It's very disappointing.
Please
though.
move. Where are we on?
Miyetti Allah. Tell
They're
us.
saying that it's the call for that only corrupt politicians are the ones calling for the sacking of the service chiefs, that they're actually doing a great job so far. There's so many deaths have been, is it because they are not talking about the deaths of the herdsmen, that they have actually done quite a bit of work, and that and also that grazing is supposed to be allowed to go across boundaries, because they're saying that there's a current, I'm not sure, can you complete the story for me?
Current treaty?
There's a treaty that allows for inter-country
grazing is a non-boundary limit. Yes. Cannot be limited by boundaries. Now, Miyetti Allah, please, seriously, on this couch, I understand their case.
Right.
I understand. I even read an article over the weekend that we're not advocating their own deaths as much as we're advocating the farmers.
That's what they were saying.
But can they just please stop talking and allow, like I say, all the security agents do a non-biased, neutral job of finding out whoever commits a crime. We're not saying stealing your cattle is right. It is a crime. Report it as a crime. Let the police investigate. Arrest the thieves who stole cattle, not kill the thieves who stole cattle without fair hearing. That's the problem. It's a failure of institution that leads to more crimes and now death. Can they just please understand the sensitivity of death, of loss of lives?
Yes, let me
just quickly add, what he said just reminded me of the story of Solomon, where, two mothers came and they were fighting over a child, and he held the child and said we should we should divide the child into two. Yes. The one that was crying and say, okay, just let the child go. So that's the story where you say, well, they are working. They are working because maybe not your people, they are screaming for children and their mothers dead. Maybe that's why you say that they are working.
But there are two sides to every story. So I think that's what Nima tried to say.
How is Miyetti allowed to say these things continually? How? And nobody has picked them up for questioning.
Freedom of speech.
Questioning.
Freedom of speech.
Questioning.
Okay, moving on to Vanguard. Unfortunately, I noticed that not seeing Daily Sun yesterday, no Daily Sun.
Nation.
No, Nation. Not seeing Nation yesterday and today. I wonder what's happening. Moving on to Vanguard. Turmoil as policemen protest unpaid wages with shootings. Oshomole begins peace talks with vexed party members. Bring justice to the aggrieved. Prosecute perpetrator, says go on. NFF crisis panic. Giwa fight over glass house. Buhari begins payout of looted funds. Otedola bridge fire death tolls now 12 as Lagos State government opens DNA sample collection center. And Catholic bishops say we aren't convinced of federal government's sincerity to end killings. All right, let's talk about Pinnick. Who has that story?
Jumoke has a Pinnick. So Amaju Pinnick, the NFF boss, has been commanded by Solomon What's our sports minister's name? Lalong.
Yes.
Okay.
Lalong.
to vacate the NFF and Giwa Adamu, that's his name, right, to take over. Giwa has even taken over, actually. He went to the NFF, addressed them. Why? There's a court, Giwa has been in court since the elections against Pinnick. He's been in court, and the court has now finally given him the injunction. You know, meanwhile, Amadou Pinnick's tenure ends in September. So I don't know how this is going to play for Nigerian football, because FIFA and CAF have disqualified Giwa from doing anything footballing.
Yes. Okay. Because there was the issue within there was this bickering between himself and Pinnick as to who the head of NFF was. He went to court. He lost at first court of first hearing. So I don't know the progress of it.
He went to court of appeal.
Now that you're saying that he's gotten a substantive junction to
the other thing I want to talk about is the Tedala Bridge fire. 3 additional people have died. One person has been released, actually, thankfully, but 3 people have died. So there are now 12 in total. And the Lagos State government is actually going to prosecute the owner. I think they've finally identified the owner of the truck, and they plan to prosecute him and also the driver of that truck.
The souls of the faithful departed, rest in peace.
Let's move on now to Daily Sun. Policemen protest why we have not paid them. Police headquarters. Chris Giwa takes over NFF office as Pinnick kicks. Imo APC crisis, Okorocha coalition, no fate on Thursday. Court grants ex-NSA Dasuki bail, orders immediate release. FG playing double standard with killing, says Catholic bishops. And fuel explosion, Lagos to prosecute tanker owner and driver. Let's talk about the policemen.
Yes. Okay, yes, the major story. So mobile policemen had been deployed to Maiduguri to assist the military in the fight against Boko Haram. On Monday, I think, yes, they came out. They were on the streets with their guns and in their uniforms.
Shooting sporadically.
Sporadically shooting. You know, the whole place was deserted because of it, and they were protesting against non-payment of salaries for 7 months. And then they also said promotions, they hadn't gotten promotions, but that, as well as the nonchalant attitude of the police force towards their welfare. That they didn't have where to stay since they got to Maiduguri. There was no bed for them to stay. When they finish their duty, they go and they sleep along the corridors in the offices and things like that.
The first initial reaction I saw was the police even denying that there wasn't any protest. But we saw pictures on social media. Is helping.
No, it's not social media. So Sun has a different angle. Vanguard has a different angle.
Pictures.
All the pictures are different, but these men were protesting.
They can't even deny that it did not happen. It's on the front pages of the newspapers.
All the papers, actually.
But the vice president has called the IGP, and they're discussing this. Now, you see, they keep on sending a bad signal to peaceful Nigerians, that until you become violent before you be listened to, we need to start to settle matters before people take up arms.
The issue for me
encourage
is
the peaceful Nigerians
to stay
peaceful.
The outcome of that meeting with the vice president. We're not sure because the
NANS, that's the Nigerian News Agency, saw him walk between the Chief of Staff's office and the presidency yesterday. But
you've lost your line of thought.
The welfare, police welfare is one thing we've always advocated for here. Exactly. This goes to the root of the issue. When they deploy military men or so a policeman to war zones, there should be provision for accommodation for them.
Moving on now to New Telegraph. Policemen protest unpaid allowance. Talked about that already.
Imagine.
Nobody can save Obasanjo from prosecution, says Sagi.
It'll be all right.
And Disco disconnects Imo government's house over 200 million naira debt. I have that story. So these daring Enugu electricity distribution company went to disconnect the state government's house because they're owing them 200 million naira. And guess what? A few days later, the Imo state government declared their building for destruction.
That's all right.
Marked their building for destruction.
So that is a tit for tat. But wait, so 200 million. How much did we use to build Christmas tree 2 years ago?
200 million. 500. So these are unpaid salaries for these people that have been providing.
So I'm saying
utility bills.
Why wouldn't you pay your bills?
Utility bills.
And why should you
now retaliate?
Retaliate because somebody disconnected.
So utility bills are something that Nigerians always fear to pay. I'm just amazed that a state government
can be owing also.
It happened somewhere in Oshodi here when our local government did not pay NEPA bills. So the problem is, this is a business. If you've gotten service provided, pay the service.
Bills.
And if you think you want to demolish their building for
and stop
public
intimidating
policy,
citizens, please.
Prove it that you know they are contravening.
Please, how much did we use to build 5 statues again?
Oh, right.
I wanted it.
Good question.
Dasuki
Stone. States. 300 million.
The courts have released Dasuki for the 6th time, 5 times in Nigerian court, once in the ECOWAS court, to grant him a bail. Now, the 6th time, they're saying 200 million, allow him go home. I'm going to watch out if they're going to allow him go this time, because I remember just before elections in 2014, President Jonathan also allowed Al Mustafa go home. He was released. He was convicted. His conviction upturned just before elections. We're watching.
They say it's illegal. You need to release him immediately.
It is illegal to continue to
keep
him.
Unfortunately, we can't take any more stories. We have to go on a break now. When we come back, our hot topic today is Nigeria is supposedly a dangerous country to be a woman. Is that true? And later we discuss hernias and fibroids. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So there's a report from Thomson Reuters Foundation that Nigeria has been named the 9th most dangerous country for women. To buttress this, recently a mother sent a message to her boss explaining she couldn't come to work because her child is on life support. But the boss said that was no excuse to miss work and warned her that she will be sacked if she doesn't show up. That is part of what people are saying, why it's difficult for you to be a Nigerian, be a woman in Nigeria. Now, what are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 070-806-6801. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. So when we heard about we're the 9th hardest country to be a woman, dangerous country to be a woman. You know, and as a woman, I started thinking of different examples. So this news of this woman's issue just broke this morning. But there are so many other angles to this story about how difficult it is to be a woman.
If you want to start with this table, it's already broken.
Why?
Because aside from the subtle gender inequality, which is
it's not subtle, low.
In learned homes, it is very subtle that you think that your parents were educated, you are educated, all your siblings are educated, so everything should go calm. You all knew that you are a girl and the other person is a boy. It's a disadvantage. Did I ask to be born a woman? That maternal mortality in Nigeria, all over the world, they'll be looking at us like we're crazy. That your pregnant women are still dying during childbirth.
In huge numbers.
During childbirth.
But see, sometimes, I mean, you're right. Those are some big issues, but there's some other smaller issues. Domestic, home, the conversations you have, the kind of conversations you have in the house, where a woman doesn't feel empowered because she doesn't have a boy. She doesn't feel, there's no sense of confidence.
Our culture.
Because we don't, that's the issue of culture.
Let's go from family that she just said. Yesterday I got a brief. This woman, married for 10 years, was disempowered intentionally by a legal, what they call learned person. That's her husband, a lawyer of over 30 years at the bar. Disempowered her intentionally so that he has control over her. So once he's not pleased with her, he takes away feeding.
What?
Her children, that's what he does.
Food.
And for 10 years, she put up with it. In this country, that's a learned person. And he will say to you, I'm a lawyer. 30 years at the bar. I can do and undo. In this country, last month I got a rape case. A girl tutoring someone's children in this Lagos was driven out by the father of the children to a corner and raped. And that she dared to report in the police station was another problem. That's the problem for me. So they tell you, Auntie,
so many
Auntie, what do you want? And the wife was calling her, Auntie, you went to report my husband. Now he's no longer at home. Is it not dangerous to live here? You can't even find justice. God forbid it happens to you. That's what everybody will be saying. So God forbid, where will I go? God forbid it happens to me. And everybody that comes to me, it's God forbid it happens to me. These are the terrible cases that we hear.
And then look at, when you're looking at all the parameters, because for me, when I first heard, I was thinking, okay, this must be violent acts against women. But as we have just all discussed, just talked about it, it's even in the subtle things, And so I was looking at the parameters. So it's healthcare, as you've mentioned, it's education.
Culture.
It's culture.
Then
it's also, then there's this human trafficking.
Right.
I'm saying from when we're very little, we've heard of Nigerian girls being sent to Italy, being sent from one home to the other. Do you understand? And
as maids.
As maids, once you're born first of all, you're female, then God help you, you're born in a poor home. The next thing is to make you a maid.
That's
to send you to wherever.
I've shared the story of my nanny. I had a nanny who had her daughter, I think in Turkey or some country like that. And she'd be trying to encourage her daughter that, no, they just work for your madam for a few more months. You know, the money you send to me, your husband, because the girl was married in Nigeria. So her husband will be coming to bring some money for the nanny in my house. She'll be talking to the daughter, but don't worry now, you'll soon pay off now. Don't worry, just calm down. She's not telling to get my own brothers in the US to try to find a way to get her. And I'm not going to get involved in your drama. But you see, that as a girl, these are the kind of things you're faced with in this country.
Amnesty International came out with a report saying that women are forcefully coerced. And Nima was trying to tell us that maybe we need to redefine rape. Because you agree to survive does not mean that you really agree. Forcefully coerced. How did they get to the IDP camps? That the government failed them in the first instance. Their husbands and sons are killed. Women are usually the victims of war, of hunger. A woman will not eat until her children have eaten. And then they become homeless because there's somebody killing their people. They come to a government camp and they have to sell their bodies to feed their children again.
May I just buttress what you said with what JuLY said yesterday in the makeup room when we were having an argument, that in a war situation, women are easily captured because they are dragging along their baggage of children. So they don't want to leave their dependence, but men can do anything, they can just flee. So it's a completely helpless situation.
Well, in this country, according to this report, is the ninth dangerous place to live for a woman.
And I thank God for, because I practice in Lagos, the system that we have. I was saying to the woman yesterday, this is not possible to happen in Lagos. It's not going to happen. We have departments who ensure that he will provide for his children even if he wants to divorce you.
Let me take this call from Austria. James, all the way from Austria. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Good morning. You guys are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, please. You know, the discussion this morning, I know, you know, you people are blowing this out of proportion.
Excuse me?
Our own is not different. We have a country that just started allowing their women to start writing.
Yes.
Well, those women were not disempowered. An average Saudi woman is worth over $30 million. Don't compare them. That's the mistake we make. That they don't have the freedom to drive around doesn't mean they're disempowered.
Nigerians are poor.
No, there's a large difference.
No, Nema. Yeah. Nema, it's not like that. Look, what is happening in Nigeria is, didn't your father train you?
An average Saudi woman is uneducated.
Poverty is too much. Our father truly wants to train our children, our daughters. Yes, honestly, it's you know, the way we blow our things proportionally.
Okay, thank you very much, James.
Okay, so James,
quick correction.
Hang it. I think we got your correction already.
Just information, because there's what we call dowry in Islam, and the countries that practice it the most are Saudi women. In Saudi, the standard for converting gold is over $30 million. So to marry an average Saudi woman within the Saudi community, you can say she's worth that amount of money. That's information. A Nigerian woman will first of all marry based on love. You're even coming there based on abuse. Okay, the case of one of my cases that I handled, the girl was sleeping on the roadside, married by a policeman, and abused for over 10 years of marriage.
So let me quickly address, James, that Nigerians are poor. Yes, Nigerians have the most poor people in the world today. Brookings Institute has told us we have 87 million poor. So we agree it cuts across gender. But when a man is poor, his only means of enjoying himself is to have more children. But guess what? If they want to empower any of the children, they will empower the man first, because they believe that he's the one who can take care of the entire family. In the days when we needed physical strength, that was okay. Yes. Today, both a man and a woman can take care of any family. So ensure that all the children you bring to the world, you are empowering them. I'm an educated woman, Mariah, but because of gender inequality, any man on the street at all will think that he has more powers than I have, or that he has more rights.
You know, I had this argument with somebody in my church. I'll let you talk, Mariam. I was having that, and older women were arguing with me, saying that it's not possible. And I'm like, you don't walk my shoes. I'm driving, and somebody just, you this woman, get out of the road, come out of here. Just because you're a woman. Yes, Mariam.
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out, for information's sake, that when there are different parameters that I use. So yes, we have a Saudi that has women driving, and so because of that, recently,
and all of them are buying cars immediately. They got the law.
Anyway, they are all on. They're like 10 top. Most dangerous countries for women, and the United States of America is on that list as well. It does not mean that we can compare Nigeria to the United States of America. The reason why they are on this list, this top 10 most dangerous countries, is because of sexual harassment, sexual violence, and things like that. So that because Saudi is on it does not make them any better.
We need to actually review our cultural practices, because culture was developed by somebody, right? We met it growing up, so we can actually adjust, because people make it look as if, oh, that's our culture, that's the people we are, but we are the people. We can actually change.
Once you say that, you bring it back to us women. Who are the upholders of the culture?
Very true.
Women are.
Very true. Two tweets. Advantage Anthony says, go to the families and see how women treat their housemates. Very bad. Miss Melistic Angel says, this issue of women in Nigeria boils down to our culture and mentality.
Unfortunately, we can't take any more, but I think this is actually a full day topic, so we need to get people's views. So we might still do a part 2 of this at some point, but let's take a break now. It's Tuesday. When we come back, we'll discuss hernias and fibroids. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Reports has it that thousands of Nigerian women die daily from different medical conditions that are largely preventable and treatable. On the show today, we'll be looking at 2 types of diseases, which is hernias and fibroid, and what we can do to prevent them. Joining us on the show is a medical practitioner and a family physician, Dr. Benjamin Olowo-Jebutu. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
To give us your view or your questions, you can call us on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. All right, let's start with hernias. For those who don't know what they are, tell us what they are. Who is at risk to get hernia? Okay,
hernias are defect that happens on the abdominal wall when there's stress, when anything that increases the abdominal pressure will cause an hernia. It means the organ in the abdomen can pass through the defect and herniate and just come out. So the most important place we have it in our body is in the abdomen. And it happens with people that are at risk, people that take a lot of, that have chronic constipation, people that take a lot of bread, they're strained to go to the bathroom when you want to poo. Constipation, they can herniate. People that do a lot of exercise that weakens the abdominal wall. And people that have multiple surgeries on the abdominal walls. And there are types of hernias we're going to get to that point. But hernias are actually, when there's a defect, when there's a small defect and weakness in your abdominal wall, the organs in your body, in your abdomen can herniate, can pop out of that defect. Yes. Right. So in children, when they're born about 6 months, you see them having umbilical hernia. That means the rectal sheath on the abdomen is not closed yet. Okay. So you see them popping out when they cough. You see the thing coming out of their belly button. Okay. You call that one umbilical hernia. Yes. But in men, you see it more in their groin, inguinal hernia. Because you see them carrying a lot of heavy loads, driving so long distances. Let's use local terms now. Idodo. Idodo, yes. Idodo is a belly when it's swollen. That's your belly button. Yes. Belly button. Yes, it's called supposed to be hernia. 2 types. So one is swollen, one is flat. So it's not a type. So when those ones that are bigger, so they're herniated. Yes, they're herniated. Yes. You see them having a lot of barbaric sounds. You see the children having pains. People don't know. The thing is just that. Please rewind. Wait. I thought those things happen when you don't put iron and heat on them. No.
I even thought that they're just 2 different types of belly buttons.
No. So we have to correct it. Okay. It's an hernia called umbilical hernia. Right. It happens from birth to about 6 months. Normally, it should rescend at 1 year. Okay. But if it doesn't, you have babies having pains when they are. You see them when they cough. You see it just pops out. So the organ that is herniating, when you press on that belly button, you see it collapses.
Yes,
because
can it be corrected?
Yes, surgically, yes.
So the moment you notice as a mother,
yes,
you can actually get it corrected.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Now, who is that? I mean, how do you observe the symptoms if you have hernia?
Yes.
What do you do? How do you even know you have hernia? Do you have to just go to, because half the time you go to hospital just to treat you for malaria and typhoid?
Okay, so you see the swellings on your body. Okay. I'll give you a scenario. A man comes to you and his scrotum is very, very enlarged. You know, you see that his scrotum is so enlarged, and they wear like multiple trousers. You know, they have like this trouser, another one for the pouch, because they're very big. Because most of their intestines have herniated into that.
Oh my God, that's hernia as well.
Yes, hernia. Yes, you see them having very, very big scrotal sac. Right. So when you examine them, we call it cough impulses. You know, when they cough. As they cough, you see the thing protruding. Right. So it's important to go for examination to check about it.
And this is but in cases like that, is it that it started small and then because it was untreated, it became bigger? Because I've seen those people like on the street.
Yes, begging for money. Yes. So what they do is, there's a small hernia. It's small defect. That if you don't take care of it, it begins to go bigger because the more the intestine sees space to go to, they keep going. Right. So some men have all their intestine in that bowl.
But a simple surgery could have fixed this.
Very simple surgery, yes.
So you see, this is Nigeria, and sometimes basic healthcare is
expensive and unaffordable. Yes,
but for me as a mother, I would like to know, like I hear it mostly happens with boys or men. So how can I tell like a child has it? It's not just a tummy ache. What do I see in my child?
So what you see when the baby is coughing, you see something pops out. Either there's coughing or they're straining in the bathroom, they're straining to go to the bathroom, to the toilet. And you see something pop out on the abdominal wall. So in women, women have it on their femoral canal.
So the hip?
So on the hip, yes. Okay. Yes. But men, you see it on their groin. Okay. You love their groin.
So the skin pops out?
The skin pops out. It's very visible. You see it pop it out.
Never seen it.
That's why you see a lot of them have it on their, so because the intestines, the defect is getting bigger, and the abdominal content can go into the
expanding it.
Yes, and expanding it.
How is the surgery? Is it a major surgery? Is it something like?
It's not major. We call it a neuropathy. It's just to repair that defect. And that's it.
Just sew it up. But how do we prevent it?
So one of the things we tell people about preventing is about make sure you don't have those symptoms that increase abdominal pressure, like chronic cough, constipation. You getting me? Not taking a lot of water. People don't have good bathroom hygiene. You know, habits. Somebody's in 4 or 5 days hasn't got to the bathroom. By the time they go,
so those things, you're forcing it out.
You're forcing out. So you're increasing the pressure on the abdomen. Yes. So when you're increasing the pressure on the abdomen, you weaken that abdominal muscles, and so you can herniate. It can cause herniation.
To have hernia?
No. Even people that we see a lot in the hospital, they are older people, 70s, 60s.
Wow. It can happen at any point in your life.
Any point in life, correct.
But I had someone who had a hernia, and it was just a little hole. Yes. And the doctor says, don't let's operate this thing, right? It will go by itself. Does it go by itself? Because eventually, years down the line, she now needed to have a major surgery.
Yes.
So
it doesn't go by itself. Okay. That's the truth. It only goes by itself if you're a child. At 6 months, about 1 year.
When it's just a little.
So that's why the problem is. If it's a little, it can strangulate. So if it's just a little and the organs, the abdominal organs are forcing itself into it. So it becomes tight and it can strangulate. That's why it becomes an emergency. When is a strangulated hernia, it becomes an emergency that you have to do an emergency surgery. Because
let's switch over to fibroid, because we're supposed to deal with both issues.
Yes.
Fibroid, a lot of people say it's not my portion, you know. And we've heard that every woman has a fibroid, but it just depends on the size. Could you just explain to us, for those who don't know again, what fibroid is? Could you tell us what it is and how do you get fibroid?
Fibroids are smooth muscle benign tumors of the uterus. So the uterus is there, and the uterus just grows fibroids. Now,
uterus is where your baby is supposed to be, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, the womb. They call it the womb. Yes, womb. Yes, uterus.
So that people know what you're talking about.
Yes, the womb. Womb. Sorry. So, if one of the things that there's no major cause for fibroids, but there are risk factors. One of the reasons is African women or obese people that are big. So it happens more in black Americans, black Africans. It happens to us on this side. And one of the things we've realized that if there's no break in your menstrual flow for a long time, you have the risk factor to grow a fibroid. For example, let's say you start menstruating at the age of 12.
Yeah.
And you're about 40. You've menstruated for 28 years, no break. Because the womb must grow something, either a baby or a fibroid, the womb has the ability to grow that fibroid. Are you getting me? So because the estrogen that helps you menstruate stimulates the growth of fibroid.
Yes.
Okay, so if you do not have a baby, you have a fibroid.
So researchers said that people that have babies, that there's a break in their menstrual flow at less risk of having a fibroid. So you see people that usually have it, that people that no babies or they've stopped having babies or they're moving towards menopause. Those are people that have fibroids.
I've heard this story because they say should be you people who go against early girl marriage.
Yes.
Now see what you call.
So you now have fibroids because you're not having babies
very correct.
early enough. How do we prevent it?
So people should check up themselves. It's important. And there are a lot of wrong mentality about fibroids. About it's not my portion, it can't happen to me. So people are taking a lot of herbal stuff.
Yes. People swear by those things that it works.
That is killing them.
Really?
So a lot of people now take those herbal medicines that look as if they tell them it's going to dry the fibroid. Nothing dries the fibroid. Nothing.
No.
It's surgery that will take out the fibroid. So the light that you're going to poo-poo it,
All
you're going to take it out.
So there are instances where women claim that they just put to bed a lump.
One pastor laid hands on them and they delivered
and they even have it to be like an onion.
Take a picture of it and show it on social media.
So I tell you something. So it's the fibroids that are there are different types of fibroids. There are intramural fibroids inside the womb itself. There are subserosal outside the womb itself. There are submucous in the muscle of the womb. There are subpediculated, the ones that just fly around the uterus. So you can say maybe that type, because it was very close and they were delivering, and it can just come out by and it's very small.
Okay.
But most of the big sizes fiber that we have now, the ones that look like watermelon, like a football, those ones can never come out. It has to be surgery. But people have been deceived by herbal medicines that it will reduce it, and because they're afraid of surgery.
It's not an issue of surgery because people are afraid that once you have surgery, it's going to prevent you. Look like you're going to some people having a baby that it takes out the entire uterus.
No, that's lie, and that's a lie now. That's a wrong notion, because why they don't have the baby is because they have a fibroid. Fibroid always causes what we call bilateral tubal blockage, because they're blocking the tubes. The space that the baby is supposed to grow in, that's where the fibroid is. So if you don't take out that fibroid, you can't have a baby.
But can you take out the fibroid without affecting my womb?
Obviously, yes. It's called myomectomy.
How successful?
Because we don't want.
I tell you, in Nigeria, yes, people do it. A lot of it is done. It is done well.
Yeah.
We have myomectomy. You take out the fibroid and preserve the womb.
Okay, let's go on a break.
If you've had other babies before, maybe you've had maybe 2 or 3 babies, and you're moving towards menopause, they just do what we call hysterectomy. Yes, because you don't need baby anymore.
Right. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll take questions and tweets on both diseases, hernias and fibroids. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Staying with us, so Nima had a question here. Go ahead, please.
So how successful? I asked because I had the personal experience of someone who's never had a child. When her myomectomy was done, they said there were complications and they had to take out her uterus because they did it over and over and she didn't stop bleeding internally. So, and I think it was in the uterus, they had to take it out. How successful are myomectomy?
So that's a special case. What may have happened? What may have gone wrong in that situation? Okay,
so one of the biggest arteries in the body is uterine artery that supplies the uterus. If it is if there's hypercoagulopathy, if the person has a blood clotting problem, it can happen. So most times people just think it's just the uterus bleeding. There might be other comorbidities, other things happen to the person that's entirely. Maybe the liver is not functioning properly, the kidneys are not very solid.
The doctor have done all those tests before surgery.
They will have done that, but trauma itself, trauma itself, it's an inflation of trouble, you know. Right. So you can be safe before surgery, and on surgery table you're worsened.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So but one of the complications of myomectomy is also post-myomectomy bleed, which is hemorrhage, and it was wise for the doctor to take out the womb because he wants to save the woman.
Okay, Doc, I wanted to ask you a question.
Please.
A lot of people, especially I would say people who are believers and Christians, say, listen, surgery is not my portion. I'm not going to go under the knife, you know, because they just believe that by faith, because I know a family that activated their faith, said they would never do surgery. I don't know if they have kids now, but for the years I knew them, they never had this. They had a fibroid issue. So, how do you address those kind of people? Okay,
so I asked them, what are your fears? Because the same story, I've had people come to me and I've said this kind of story. And it is how do you magnify the problem as a physician, or how do you make them see the reasons to help them? So some doctors or some people like to magnify the problem and make you look at, it's big, you will die, it's expensive. But when you make them understand that, tell me what your fears are, and you can allay their fears. A lot of them are afraid for unjust reasons, for many reasons. Maybe their grandmother died of AIDS or something, or maybe they don't have a lot of money because it's quite expensive. Or they say that it's not their portion, they're their beliefs, and it's going to come out. Or there's an about guy around their corner that are giving money every day, and he's telling them, don't worry, it's going to come out, it's going to cause you shrink. And because they believe those guys more than the doctors.
Okay, let me take this call before we go into some tweets. Morning, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Prince Adiola. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, please, I want to know, when you have hernia, eat, one, then two, well, for a woman that...
Let me get the first question. Sorry, when you have hernia, what's the question?
When do you have...
Hello?
Yes?
What's the first question, please?
The first question is, when you have hernia...
Yes.
Can someone outgrow it at a later age?
Okay.
And then two, for a woman that has a fibroid, can it also, after the operation, can it regrow after it has been removed?
Thank you very much, Prince.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, good question. So first thing, hernias, you can't outgrow it except by a baby. A baby, 6 months to 1 year is when you can. But between 6 months and 1 year, it can seal off. And when it seals off, you can't reoccur again.
Okay.
Two, but if you have a hernia as an old person, you can't resolve. You have to do a surgery called aneurysm. You have to just repair the defect and it just closes it. For fibroids, yes, it can regrow again because the smooth muscles and estrogen stimulates a lot of smooth, because when you're menstruating, you're still menstruating, you're supplying estrogen to the womb. I get me. But when you are pregnant, the progesterone slows makes the baby grow and slows the release of estrogen. I get me. That's why we always advise when you do the surgery, get pregnant. So when you get pregnant, to reoccur is usually very.
If you have fertility issues, are there any drugs, are there any medication or drugs that people can take just to prevent, you know, like women who are childbearing age, they'll say take folic acid to make sure your child comes. So we have a problem.
So folic acid will actually make the fibroid go bigger.
Yes. So what, is there anything?
Yes, because anything, folic acid helps to regenerate things in the womb. Anything in the womb will make it grow. People don't know.
Okay.
You know,
There's a question on
this. Yes.
Someone is asking, Daniel Tommy says, how much is the fibroid surgery? And I hope our bachelor can be shared across all super.
May I take a few more so you answer all the questions? Pauline, agreeing with you, says fibroid grows back after surgery if a woman doesn't get pregnant after a while. Yes. These are many cases, and some gynecologists are advising women against it. Victor says, what causes the notion if you touch your belly button too much, you will have stomach ache? Kike Moron-Keji says, health experts is missing some info. Fibroid can reduce after childbirth. Studies also indicate that prevalence amongst black women could be due to chemicals in hair products and red meat consumptions. He needs to do. Okay. So a few questions there. Surgery, how much is it? Because you mentioned also that some surgeries are expensive.
Yes. So hernia as well.
So hernias are they're not expensive surgeries. They're very affordable.
Give us a range.
Okay, so in Lagos you could do between 40,000 to 100,000.
For hernias.
Good for hernias, yes. And it depends on the area. Maybe you're on the mainland, or you're on the island, you're on Lekki, so it depends on the area you are. And it could go beyond that. You know, depends on the person doing the surgery.
And teaching
hospitals. Then also teaching hospital. Yeah, but just a lot of, because it's not an emergency.
Right.
So you're on a queue for a long time. You can live for like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Yes. I know.
What are fibroids?
Fibroids between 350,000 to about a million. Depends on
fibroid surgery.
Yes. It's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
So what you were saying about that's why I said, when you have a baby, when childbirth reduces if you're pregnant. Yeah. So imagine now you're pregnant. You don't menstruate for 1 month, for 1 year. 1 year. No menstruation for 1 year because you're pregnant. Yeah. Then another 1 year, 1 year breastfeeding. That's 2 years. So you've reduced the ability to grow a fibroid at least for 2 years. Okay. So imagine if you do that every 2 years, like we do in Nigeria.
How many children are you meant to have to not have a fibroid?
No, I'm just giving a scenario.
I don't understand.
I didn't say that.
Listen, I don't have 350,000 naira for surgery. Yeah. So as a young woman, what do I do? I mean, she's talking about prevention, but what do I do to ensure? I mean, do I just go get pregnant? Aside from going to get pregnant, what can I do not to have fibroid?
That's a tough question.
Medicine I can take every morning.
There is no medicine. There's no herbs.
There's agbo. There's
no agbo. There's nothing. Don't mind them about
that. But
that.
there's a tweet. Sheikh says, you often talk about fibroid and you forget about endometriosis, which is getting viral in Nigeria now. Yes. So that's a topic for another day. What's that?
Yes. So it's the growth of the uterine muscle outside the uterus. Yes.
We have to round up, unfortunately. Thank you so much, sir. I think we learned quite a lot from you today.
Thank you very much.
So if you have hernia, if you have somebody coughing and something's protruding, rush to the hospital. Between 40,000 and 100,000, hopefully you're able to get some kind of surgery. Correct, yes. And it can't go by itself. No, you have to seal up that defect.
Yes.
You have to seal it up.
That weakness, yes.
Whew, that's all we can take on the show. Tomorrow is our live audience show. Please come early so you can get a seat. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.